Lindstrom, Chair of the Environment Committee, and I will call the meeting to order for September 10th, 2024. We have a modified agenda before us this afternoon. Lots of things on the agenda today, but we did have to make a switcheroo on what was posted online. We had item let's see, we had an item that is combined with 20-24, excuse me, 2024-182. They were separate, and then now they have been combined because we learned one of the items does not need to have council action. It doesn't need to be a separate line item. It can be incorporated within this master contract awards for the White Bear Lake Comprehensive Planning.
Mr. Chair, probably take longer to say that than to
I know, probably. We have a modified agenda. It's all good. All right. With that, we do have an agenda. So without objection, we can move forward. And we've got some minutes from August 13th, 2024.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion has been made. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries. And nothing on our consent agenda today, but lots of good things on our non-consent agenda, including the first one, 2024-182, same week, Master Contract Awards for Water Supply Studies and Technical Analysis for White Bear Lake Comprehensive Plan. This is contract 24P056. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Lindstrom and committee members. We've met before, but I think it's been a while since we gave an update on the White Bear Lake project. But I'm Greg Johnson. I'm a principal engineer in the Water Resources Water Planning Group. And here we're here to discuss the master contracts for water supply studies and technical analyses for White Bear Lake Area Comprehensive Plan. So as you know from our last presentation, the Minnesota legislature provided $2 million in funding for the Met Council to develop a comprehensive plan for the White Bear Lake area to have sufficient and sustainable drinking water for future generations. These master contracts will support the technical work for the study. So for the evaluation, the council received 5 proposals on June 13th, 2024 to be evaluated for the consideration of award and used the proposer quality, qualifications, experience, and price as the criteria for evaluation. The evaluation panel reached consensus that the proposals submitted by Kimley Horn and Associates, Barr Engineering, and Short Elliott Hendrickson are the most advantageous to the council and recommend for award. So the proposed action that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contracts with Barr Engineering, Kimley Horn, and Short Elliott Hendrickson to provide technical consultant services. Each master contract will be for a not to exceed value of $500,000 for a total not to exceed value of $1,500,000 for all 3 master contracts. And with that, I'll take questions.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greg, so are these for just the water supply distribution, but not the financing part? That's going to be a different contract?
Yeah, that's correct. So Chair Nordstrom, members or committee members, there are 2 separate RFPs. One was for the technical analyses, which is what this contract includes.
Got it.
And then the other one was for the financial analyses, and that was the one that was taken off the agenda because the dollar amount is less than $200,000. So,
perfect.
Yep.
How's the project coming along overall?
Good, good. We've had 4 really productive meetings with the work group. We've identified at least a dozen solutions to study.
Wow.
And And now we're planning for the next meeting, which is in November, and we're just going to kind of finalize those solutions. And then we're currently doing water demand projections just for the White Bear Lake area. So we have to determine how much water we need for not only the initial development, but also for ultimate development. So we've been having a lot of back and forth dialogue with the work group members just to make sure that we're all in agreement on those numbers.
Gosh, yeah, please.
Mr. Chair, I think I've attended 3 of the 4 White Bear Lake Water Group meetings, and I'd just like to give kudos to the whole team for the way they've done engagement and just reached out to everybody, and people are coming together. Really, they're mixing up who they're working with, who they're talking to, coming up with solutions, and really the communities. It's tagged along with the sub-regional work group planning that they did for their water supply plan. And I just think, I've never seen a meeting, nothing's ever been contentious. There's been differences of opinion, but it's all been positive, working together. You know, they're all kind of, thinking of difficult things that might come down the pike for them. But the leadership that the team has shown has just been really, really awesome. So, thank you.
Fantastic. Sounds like everybody's coming to the table in good faith and throwing out their ideas, and you have 12 different possibilities, and then it's a big funnel, right?
That's right.
Oh, okay, get this. These 4 seem like the
Yeah.
most reasonable ones to sink our teeth into a little bit more.
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do, but everything's been productive so far. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Did we made a motion when we voted? Did we? Did we? We did not. We did not vote yet. Okay.
yet.
I suppose we ought to do that. We ought to take some action.
I will move approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right. Thank you very much. It passes.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully that's what you were looking for. That was your next slide.
That was.
Take action.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
great. All right. And that takes us to our next item, which is an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Lakeville.
Let's look at that one.
Welcome back, Mr. Wadeen.
That's Wendy.
Thank you, Chair Lindstrom. Members of the council, my name is Tim Woodine. I am Assistant Manager with Interceptor Engineering, and I'm here to present to you on business item 2024-226, an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Lakeville. A little bit of background on the area that we're going to be working in. It's a new flow meter installation that will serve the city of Lakeville, measure flow from the city of Lakeville as it crosses into the city of Farmington. It's being incorporated into a city-led project, and will include the construction of a vault for the new meter that will be installed, to be named meter 657. Total estimated cost is about $1 million, and it's located in an area that's right now seeing a lot of growth and development. It's a fairly rural location right now, but there's a lot of growth going in that area. We're trying to stay ahead of that growth that's occurring and making sure that we're measuring flow that comes through that region. So our proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize its regional administrator to execute a cooperative construction agreement with the city of Lakeville for the construction of a new flow meter, meter M657, MCS project 805609, for an amount not to exceed $1 million.
Questions for Mr. Wadeen?
Questions? I actually was on the city council when that pipe was put in, and the city paid extra back then to extend it to the city border in preparation for this development going on. So it's part of that long-term thinking and long-term partnership with the Met Council. So I would move approval for this.
And is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Carries. Thank you. And on to our next item, which is a rehab for an interceptor in Coon Rapids. Authorization to hold a public hearing.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Business item 2024-227 is, as you stated, authorization to hold a public hearing on the draft facility plan for the Coon Rapids Interceptor Rehabilitation Project. This project is actually phase 2 of a project that we've already completed, or we were wrapping up completion, or wrapping up final completion on for phase 1. So it starts north of Highway 10 in Coon Rapids and winds up through through a residential area. The pipe in this location, Interceptor 4NS 525, as well as Interceptor 7035 and meter 218, we've performed a condition assessment of these assets and determined that they've got they're in poor condition, they're in need of rehabilitation. They include a 36-inch and a 48-inch reinforced concrete pipe, as well as a 6-inch partial flume meter. That's meter 218 up on the north end of the project. Rehabilitation of the facilities is required to address the poor conditions, and as a part of that, we have prepared a draft facility plan. Part of that facility plan process includes a public hearing to inform the public what the work will involve, that we've gone through and performed a good evaluation of the alternatives that we have for the area, that we're making good use of taxpayer dollars as we advance the project. So proposal right now is that September 25th, which would be the next Metropolitan Council meeting, this would be available for approval, pending Environment Committee's approval of the action. Following that, we would hold an open house with the City of Coon Rapids in around September 30th. Our public hearing is preliminarily scheduled for November 19th. We would be able to then come back to council for adoption of the final facility plan, which would incorporate a lot of the comments, questions, additional information that we receive as part of the public hearing and open house. That would come back to council in January of 2025. And then targeting submittal of the facility plan itself to the Pollution Control Agency for Public Facility Authority funding in March of 2025. This is a long process that we're going through to make sure that we've got this done correctly. So our proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorized a public hearing in November of 2024 to gather input on the draft facility plan for the Coon Rapids Interceptor Rehabilitation Project, MCES project number 808609. With that, I'm available for questions.
I have a quick question. What is a partial flume?
A partial flume, Mr. Chair, is a tool that is used for measuring open channel flow. It uses a restriction in the cross-sectional area of that flow to create a hydraulic jump upstream of that narrow flume. And depending on how high that jump occurs, we use that height to determine what the flow rate is moving through our system. This is a common tool that we use throughout our system to measure flow, calculate how much flow each of our communities is contributing to the system.
And this is a 6-inch flume. Does that mean it's jumping 6 inches? What is the 6 inches?
Mr. Chair, the 6-inch flume refers to the throat opening, the narrowness of, or the width of the throat at its narrowest point as the wastewater flows through. So it'll start at around, I think I said it was a 36-inch diameter pipe. It's reduced down to a 6-inch wide throat, and that backs up everything above it that creates that jump. And that's used to measure that flow. So it's the width of the throat that everything passes through. It widens out again once you're through because you don't want to reduce it down to that narrower width, but then it allows flow to continue on past that.
Fascinating. Thanks. Other questions or motion?
Jay, you want to make the
Motion to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries unanimously. All right. Don't be bashful over there. Come on. All right, and that takes us to Forest Lake project authorization to hold a public hearing on the draft facility plan for the Forest Lake Interceptor 7029 Rehabilitation Facility Plan.
Excellent, looks good.
Welcome, Mr. Remus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Chris Remus, and I'm an assistant manager in the Interceptor Engineering Group. And tonight I'd like to present business item 2024-228 as introduced by the chair. So just a little background for project location. This is up in the city of Forest Lake between our two lift stations, L1 and L2. There's approximately 11,000 linear feet of pipe that is involved in this project, and kind of three different rehab methods that we're going to undertake here with this project. On the north end, more of a cleaning and inspection part to remove the debris and get a better look at it, at the pipe. The portion in blue, all the way kind of north-south, that is going to be primarily rehab, including the pipe and the structures. And the little four structures that are kicked out there, we are planning to replace the top parts of those doghouse manholes and reconstruct them new. So improvements required. This is a 36-inch reinforced concrete pipe that was installed in 1971. And based on recent inspections from 2018, this pipe was found to be in poor condition. And as previously noted, we're looking at three different scopes of work within this project to both clean it, rehab it, and replace some of the portions of the existing manhole structures to provide better access and for longer-term maintenance and inspection. So the next steps, again, listing the dates as noted previously. This is a little longer process to go through the facility plan process. Pending approval tonight of the Environment Committee, the council would take action on the 25th. We are looking at a November 10th public hearing date, subject to change on that. In January 25, we would look for the full council to consider comments and adopt final facility plan. And in February 2025, submittal to the Public Facilities Authority and MPCA for inclusion into the intended use plan. So with that, Mr. Chair, the proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize a public hearing to gather input on the draft facility plan for the Forest Lake Interceptor 7029 Rehabilitation Project Number 808603. And I can take any questions.
Councilmember Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What is a doghouse type maintenance hole?
Mr. Chair, so the base of the manhole is larger. There's larger pipe down there. So they have a 6-foot round structure to create bigger dog houses for the pipe to fit through. And then they have a top slab on that, but a smaller diameter riser, 48-inch structure riser. So they call it a dog house, but it's bigger, has a flat top on it, and then a smaller diameter riser on it.
I think I've seen those before, thank you. ES always has the best names for things.
Yeah, doghouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my other thing is not a question, but a comment. I understand this is just authorizing the public hearing, but when it comes back to us for the actual approval, both for this one and the previous item, can we get pictures of what's worn out so we understand what the condition is of what it is we're repairing?
Yes,
suggestion.
we can include pictures, Mr. Chair.
Both of these, the last one, Coon Rapids and Forest Lake, have one thing in common: reinforced concrete from the same time frame. 55 years ago. So that seems to be a common theme with the concrete, is that it's okay for a while, but 50 years might be a bit of a stretch. It's pretty nasty stuff down there. It
That's
doesn't
correct.
like concrete at all, and concrete doesn't like it. Yeah,
It's definitely served its life, Mr. Chair, so.
indeed. Yeah, council member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is in my district, so I just, so really for rehabilitation, you'll have staging of equipment and things, but there's no other land acquisition or anything involved with any of this. You're just looking at the pipe that's there and doing rehabilitation of that pipe. I'd gotten a couple calls. I just wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Yes, we are currently working on some land acquisition discussions. We've primarily met with the golf course
Okay.
for probably a good year. That's the most impacted, and then we're kind of on the periphery of some of the other properties adjacent to that we'll be having conversations with here
Okay, so
shortly.
those, okay, because so maybe that's a good thing to kind of include. So the acquisition is because you're moving the pipe or replacing it or need a bigger pipe, or why do you need land acquisition?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, a lot of those, from my recollection, are temporary easements, so just to provide additional
Okay.
workspace for equipment, lay down a pipe, et cetera, that they can work and not trespass.
Okay, so access agreements, not
Yeah,
full acquisitions
Right,
necessarily.
right.
And then is there a reason that this hearing would be virtual as opposed to in person? It says public hearing virtual. And the other one for Coon Rapids was not virtual.
I see that is noted there. Thank
So
you.
anyway, I mean, it's not that far to Forest Lake. So,
I agree.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, good catch. And would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you're sticking around for
believe-
the
I
next
believe so,
one as
Mr. Chair.
well. All right, Orno Interceptor, 7113, improvement project, real estate property acquisition and condemnation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, presenting a business item 2024-239. So again, just to give you a little background of where this is at, the dark blue line is the planned project corridor for the 7113 Force Main project. And the stars are representing where the two parcels are that we're looking for working on property with, kind of at the very east end and the very west end of the project. So some of the project background, I'll just kind of summarize. Again, this is Force Main was built in 1979, so we're about 45 years into the service life of this pipe. The flows are such, some of the peak flows are 1,000 gallons per minute or higher, so that with a single pipe that exceeds our ability to, if there were a break or other event, that we can use a tanker truck or other ways to haul flow around. So we lose that inability to maintain service reliability without a redundant pipe. And temporary conveyance to restore service would take some time, and in that unfortunate event, that would mean a spill for the council, but it also gives, on the flip side, it also gives us better maintenance opportunities to inspect the one pipe while having another one out of service going forward with this pipe in the ground. So project background, most of the work is within county right-of-way, whether that's Old Crystal Bay Road, North Shoreline Drive, and then A lot of it, I think over 7,000 feet of it is on the Hickory Trail or adjacent to the Hickory Trail. However, the 2 properties noted are private properties. And on parcel 1, which is the westerly one, we would just be looking for a temporary easement, again, for additional space to do the work on the project. And then on parcel 5, we'd be looking for a little bit of permanent and temporary easement from that property owner. So the proposed action, Mr. Chair, is that the Metropolitan Council adopt Resolution 2024-17, authorizing the acquisition and condemnation of real estate property for the Orono Interceptor 7113 Improvement Project, MCS project number 802897.
Very good. Any questions or, yeah, please.
Yeah, I just had a question. So this was built in 1979.
That's correct, yes.
It wasn't a policy to have a redundant setup during that time, or is this just because you're replacing it now and you're putting it in using a redundant setup? What was the standard in 1979?
So, Mr. Chair, not real sure on the policy in 1979. I'm guessing they were building for the capacity at that time.
I'm a dinosaur. I assume everybody else is, right?
No, but yeah, it kind of for the reasons noted, the flows are higher, and that if the pipe is aging, we've had one recent event out there that we're in the midst of completion for an emergency project, and this gives us that reliability, but also force mains are just a pipe that you cannot inspect without taking it out of service. Right. So having that redundant pipe will give us that ability to inspect going forward.
Great question.
Thanks.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson. Yes. Come on back, come on down. For our next item on turfgrass irrigation efficiency project with the University of Minnesota Turfgrass Science Program.
Yes, Mr. Chair and committee members, we're here to present a contract amendment for the turfgrass irrigation efficiency project with the University of Minnesota. And you're probably aware the University of Minnesota turfgrass science team has collaborated with Met Council on lawn water efficiency projects since 2016. Their recent efforts have been focused on wrapping up field research, outreach, education, and the pilot study of their lawn leaders program. So why are we doing this? So this graph is actually from our recent water atlas that has been published too, and this shows the ratio of the historical ratio of summertime to wintertime water usage across the metro, going back probably a couple decades, and you can see from this graph that surface water systems use probably 30 to 60% as much water as in the summertime as they do in the wintertime, and then the groundwater systems, which are the blue graphs here, they use 2 to 3 times as much water, groundwater in the summer as they do in the winter, and a large percentage of that is for irrigation of turf grass, and it's really our standard Kentucky bluegrass that it requires a lot of water, and so the University of Minnesota, they've been developing these low input turf mixes that use probably 20% as much water as the Kentucky bluegrass. In addition, they don't have to be mowed nearly as much, maybe like once every 1 to 2 months. So I'm actually looking at putting some in my backyard because I don't want to mow grass too. So anyways, there's a lot of progress that's been made by the University of Minnesota. The first contract in 2016 was for $122,592 and has previously been amended 3 times for additional $847 and $358 $358. The turf grass irrigation efficiency project is funded by the Clean Water Land and Legacy Amendment Funds through the Minnesota Legislature. This funding has allowed us to collect data and define the program, as well as begin to focus our outreach and education efforts with the public. So with the contract amendment, there are 3 primary objectives. The first one is public outreach. The University of Minnesota turfgrass team engages the public through in-person events such as neighborhood gatherings, county fairs, city festivals, and the Minnesota State Fair. So you might, if you're out at the State Fair, you might have seen them outside the horticulture building. They had a couple of displays of their low-input turf mix. In 2023, the team educated Metro region residents at 25 of these events. They delivered approximately 3,000 copies of turfgrass management outreach materials at these events. These services will continue with attendance at approximately 25 events per year, including the State Fair. The other objective is their lawn leaders program. The U of M will continue their outreach approach that trains Metro region residents to host small workshop type events in their own neighborhoods. These lawn leaders include master gardeners, water stewards, or even knowledgeable people who love to teach other people about sustainable lawn care. So basically they're training other master educational people just to try to get that word out to the public. And then the third primary objective is the lawn water conservation solutions. The University of Minnesota will complete a turf grass species mixture trial at 4 possible metro area locations. And those include the St. Paul campus of the University of Minnesota, Minnesota Landscape Arboretum in Chaska, Umore Park down in Rosemount, a publicly accessible space in the eastern suburbs, because we're trying to get it near like the White Bear Lake area to be a good one to kind of study.
My yard.
There you go. So it's yet to be determined. So through these trials, the turfgrass team, they're going to determine which of these seed mixes has the best drought tolerance and also provides a nice green appearance. And then once they determine that, they're going to distribute these seed mixes to all the local seed suppliers in the metro region. And so one thing we talked about with our staff is coming up with metrics. How do we measure the success of this program? And so one thing that the U of M is going to do, they're going to keep track of the quantities of seed mixes that are sold at all these suppliers. And we're going to hopefully get a general idea where it's being used across the metro. And then, of course, over time, as we see our historical water demands decrease, that's going to be another good indication of success with this program. So for the proposed action, that the Metropolitan Council authorize its regional administrator to execute contract amendment number 4 for the University of Minnesota to continue advancing our goals for the turfgrass irrigation efficiency project. This amendment will be for a total amount of $418,997 for a contract duration of 3 years. And that would bring the total original contract amount up to $1,388,947. So with that, I can answer questions.
This is in my backyard in Falcon Heights, maybe a half mile or so from my house. And I had the pleasure, probably 7 years ago, of touring the Turfgrass Center. And what's cool is that, I may have mentioned this the last time this was up, they have a retractable roof. And so they have turf grass, and then just to control how much water that these various grasses that they're studying, how much water they get, they have this retractable roof that is on rails, so that goes back and forth. Super cool. Just like you, I was like, how can I incorporate these things into my backyard or my front yard? And I have a native, pollinator-friendly front yard now. with like fine fescues, which I learned at that day that like the more work you do with the fescues, the worse off they are. So the better they are if you just like leave them alone, which was awesome to hear for me. And I learned about things like the importance of maintenance for irrigation systems. Like if you have a head that pops off at 4 a.m, you know, how many thousands of gallons of water could be wasted.
Yeah.
So the fact that we can get these educational efforts out there, I think the more well off all of the entire region will be. So I think it's money well spent. Questions, comments? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, so this contract's for 3 years. So in this 3 years, they're going to actually be doing the testing for these turf grasses, and at the end of 3 years, the outcome will be that they'll have a very strong recommendation to put seeds out and to really start moving it along? Is that the goal?
Mr. Chair, that's correct. And hopefully we're hoping even within 2 years too, depending, part of it's all seasonal too. It's got to be done during the summer times too, but that's a goal is 2 to 3 years to get these seed mixes out there. Yeah.
Perfect, because
Great.
I think the sooner that gets out there, that'll have such a huge impact.
Yeah.
And I think people will be wanting to really try it and engage with it, so.
Councilmember Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I toured and saw the moving roof on the rails and all of that too. Pictures, like the trailer that they take around to events, do a great job of enhancing your PowerPoint so that
Yeah,
people can understand
that's a great
what
point.
you're talking about.
That's a great point. Yeah, I should have included that. Yeah.
But they were already doing research on different seed mixtures. Is this just building upon what they've already been doing, or are they starting over again?
It's building upon it too. Yeah, they have some current seed mixes. They haven't been approved by the state. The goal is to get it in specifications like for MnDOT. And one thing that we recommended that they reach out and build a relationship with the American Society of Landscape Architects for the Minnesota section, because those are the people that are specifying these turf mixes for new development. We have to get in their specifications too, and they're going to do that. That's actually written into the contract, is to build a relationship with that organization too. So, but it's going to be an advancement and improvement to what they've done so far. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and some of those that work best when they're actually growing don't roll up nice like the bluegrass does to sod people's yards. But
Yeah, that's true.
It's great work that they're doing, and if there is an opportunity for the new people to have a tour sometime, that would be a good thing to
Sure.
do.
Yeah, we could absolutely do that. I mean, if anyone's interested, let us know.
It's so cool. I mean, like they got I think they call it a wear machine, like to put kind of, put wear into a turf grass just to see how well it stands up.
Yeah.
Roll over it 1,000,000 times and then see what happens. This one does better or over that one. And a divot machine, to automatically just give the same divots in which turf grass responds better. Like we got a big golf industry here. Yeah. We got a Toro. I got to believe it's got to be a big supporter of this, hopefully, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
So, very good. Let's see, we have not had a motion yet, I don't think, have we? Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Carries. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
That takes us to our information item for this afternoon, which is the capital program.
Cast of thousands.
Kyle, Renee, and Adam, welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome back.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Today, we're here to present the capital program, the 2025 capital program, and I'll just start off by sadly reporting that my presentation has a lot of pie charts and graphs, unfortunately no photos. So we'll take a note for next year on that. For the record, my name is Kyle Colvin. I am the manager of the wastewater planning and community programs group. And then here with me today is Renee Heflin and Adam Gordon. I'll let them introduce themselves when it gets to their spot in the presentation. Today we will be reviewing, providing a broad overview of the Environmental Services 6-year capital program. I will include a slide that identifies projects that were placed in the capital program as part of the wastewater system plan using feedback from the 2040 community local sewer plans that were submitted a couple years ago. And those projects represent improvements that are needed in order to provide the level of service that are in those approved, council-approved plans. And then Renee will, and Adam will review some of the larger projects that are in the 6-year capital program, and then I'll wrap up with just an overview of the schedule. As you know, and as you're familiar with, the Environmental Services operates under a customer level of service. We provide service to 111 different customer communities, and we are committed to providing a high level of customer service. We strive to make decisions that are fiscally responsible, protect human health and the environment, and we work with our customers to ensure that we plan for capacity to accommodate growth when it's needed and coordinate our work with other stakeholders in an efficient manner. The customer level of service is the lens through which our operating strategies, our maintenance programs, and the capital program development are evaluated and decisions are based on. Just as an overview, the council's definition of the capital program includes two parts. It's a 6-year program. One part is the authorized capital program, also known as just the ACP. And then the other part is the capital improvement program, which is the CIP. The authorized capital program includes those projects in which spending authorization for projects and whose funding sources are identified and secured and are approved by the council to move forward on. Included in the first year of the authorized capital program is what we call the capital budget. That's the first year of the 6-year program. So the capital budget in the ACP includes the 2025 list of projects and authorized spending. The capital improvement project are those projects within the 6-year program where the funding sources have been identified, but the council hasn't yet authorized the forward movement of or authorization of those projects. Generally speaking, those projects in the CIP are in the latter part of the 6-year period, whereas the authorized capital program projects are usually in the first 3 years of the 6-year period. And then in some cases, they extend beyond the first 3 years if there's a project where construction is going to start and we know that it's going to extend beyond the first 3 years. We need to have authorization for the entire project before those projects are, before they're released for bids or go out for bids. This is a chart that you've seen in years past. The light blue bars on this chart reflects the historic program spending between 2020 and 2023. It's the actual year-end expenses. This has averaged approximately $111 million over that 4-year period. The projected 6-year capital program between 2025 and 2030 is represented by the blue bars on this chart. This reflects an average of around a little over $400 million per year of estimated work. So these are the projects, this is the total of the projects that we anticipate needing to move forward on in this 6-year period. The figures reflect current project cost estimates based on priority needs, current inflation assumptions, and the flexibility to respond to unforeseen timing and changes in project needs. The goal for administering the capital program is to achieve about a 70% delivery of completed projects each year in the program. This approach allows us some flexibility in moving projects around, addressing projects that might not have been anticipated when the program was developed. And so using this 30% target allows us to reallocate some of the funding within a program or a family of projects. The increase in the projected needs in the capital program is a result of major projects that we envision starting in the 6-year period in the areas of wastewater treatment and interceptor conveyance areas. And Renee and Adam will cover some specific projects, as I indicated a little bit later on. And then the gray bar in this chart for 2024 represents what we anticipate the expenditures will be for this year. It's anticipated that they will achieve or come in at about that 70% rate, which on this chart is listed as $187 million at 70%. That's about 130. And based on expenses through August, we're right on track for achieving that $130 million expense, or about that 70%. So just to summarize the changes that we're proposing for the ES Capital Program, the current authorization for the 2024 through 2029 program is $1.672 billion approximately. There are adjustments to existing projects that resulted from either reprioritization of projects, increases, adjustments that needed to be made because of bid prices that have come in, and also we've increased or added or adjusted those costs based on some inflationary assumptions. The addition is a little over $109 million. There's also a number of new projects that are reflected in the capital program. Those new projects, there's 33 total new projects for an addition of about $132 million. And then this year, we've identified 29 projects that have been completed, and so the authorizations will be removed out of the capital program. That frees up additional authorization to use and to offset the adjustments in the new projects. So all told, this equates to a 6-year capital program of approximately $1.84 billion. And this additional $379 million between the 1.6 and 1.8 in requested authorizations reflects, again, these large projects that we will be entering into construction during the next 6-year period. Some of those projects includes the Crow River Water Resource Recovery Facility, investments in the existing Hastings Water Resource Recovery Facility, Metro Solids project, and then also this increase in interceptor work that I alluded to a little bit ago. This is just a graphic representation of what the capital program looks like. Again, the total capital program is the addition or the sum of the ACP and the CIP. Total capital program is $2.88 billion. That breaks down to the 1.84 in the ACP and a little over $1 billion in the capital improvement program of the CIP. And as I indicated, the first year of the 6-year program is what we call the capital budget. That's right now estimated in project needs of $369 million. Here's the pie charts. The council breaks down projects by objectives. There's 3 typical objectives. There's preserving existing assets through rehabilitation. There's capacity enhancement projects that are completed in order to provide or meet capacity needs to accommodate for future growth and redevelopment in some areas. And then the third objective is improve service quality by responding to higher regulatory treatment standards, enhancing system reliability and safety, and then generating energy and conserving energy and other resources. The 6-year program represents 59% in the preservation objective, 23% in the system expansion, and 18% in the improvement category. We also categorize the program under types, conveyance or interceptors, then treatment or plants. The 6-year program represents a project needs of 55% in the interceptor system and 45% in the plant project area. It's interesting, if you go back and review the last 4 years, the plant projects between 21 and 2024 represented about 60% of the overall program, 6-year program. Here you can see now the interceptors are running at 55, so there's been kind of a flip between those two project types. And it's mainly being driven by the increased number and expense in the interceptor projects.
You know, just on that note, I noticed in the 2 earlier actions that with those reinforced concrete projects, public hearings, that it was noted that they were in poor quality in like 2018, something like that. And that stood out to me. It's like, okay, we noted 6 years ago that they were in poor quality, and now we're getting to a point where we're going to be making those improvements next year. So now we're seeing this kind of the flip towards more investment in infrastructure or in interceptors. Is that an accurate description of what's happening?
Yeah.
With these 33 new projects and more of an emphasis on preserving assets? Or am I not reading that correctly?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the preservation projects, the rehabilitation projects that you've outlined represents about 60%, 59% of the total program expenditures. That historically, the preservation part of the capital program has always hovered around the 60%. Where we really have seen the shift in this year's program over the previous 4 years is in the plant versus the interceptor. We've seen an increase, or I should say this 6-year program represents more project needs or greater work in the interceptor system than the last 4 years. So there is a shift, and Adam can speak to this. It's probably driven a lot by preservation type projects.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I think in the last year we've seen a fair number of emergency things come before the council, and which obviously we need to act on, but gosh, it'd be great to take care of them before they got to that point. Right. We all believe that.
Yeah. Funding sources, the capital program is funded primarily by 3 separate funding sources. The council gets PFA, Public Facilities Authority loans, they're low-interest loans. We anticipate that this year we'll be requesting about $50 million. Last year there was a question that came up, I think it might have been Council Member Wolf, about why historically have we always limited that request to $50 million? And I remember last year I didn't really provide a very good response to that question. There is a cutoff. When it comes to the PFA funding, grants up to $50 million receives the lowest possible interest in that loan. Anything above that, and that $50 million does fluctuate a little bit. I've seen it go as high as 55. I think one year it was up to 60. But generally speaking, once that threshold is exceeded, the interest rate increases to the point where it's very, very competitive with the GO bond interest rates. And there's a lot of additional requirements for the PFA projects. You've got Buy, Build America, American Iron and Steel, other requirements. So a facility plans that are much more detailed and is more expensive to create. And so we try and maximize that interest rate by limiting our loan out of the PFA to 50 million, and then everything else we try and fund out of the GO bond. So that's why that 50 million has always been kind of a target for us. That question came up last year, and I didn't do a very good job at responding to it. So I hope that explains it.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
I appreciate your persistence in remembering that from all the way back and following up. Thank you.
Sure. Some things I just can't get rid of. As I indicated, another funding source is GO bonds. This is the interest rate is this based on the prime plus points added to that. The fact that the council has a AAA bond rating, that represents that the council is a lower risk as a borrower, so we get very, very low interest rates on the GO bonds. So we make a good use of that. For 2024, we last acquired bond sales in 23 of 40 million. For the outlook for this program, we're probably looking at getting another bonds either toward the end of this year, or more than likely next spring. And then, of course, the other last funding source is PAYGO. That's pay-as-you-go, where we fund capital projects directly out of our NWC municipal wastewater charge revenues. The purpose of that is to fund projects that are usually small. Doesn't make sense to fund a project that carries a 20-year debt. So as long as it satisfies the definition of a capital program, we fund projects out of the PAYGO. And that is 11 million this year, and it's been constant for the last couple of years, and we foresee that probably staying the 11 million for the next few years. And then just a couple of projects here that came out of the council's review of comprehensive plans. For these projects, I identified last year the Blaine Relief Interceptor that will provide additional capacity for western Lino Lakes. That's currently in the design or initiating design for that project. The Savage Trunk Sewer acquisition. This is a facility that we use to serve Credit River, which requested regional wastewater service last plan. We're in the process right now of acquiring additional property adjacent to a lift station, a local lift station that we'll be acquiring for future needs. There's also a number of small system capacity enhancements that we need to make based on a service level request through the comp plan. And then new this year is we've added the St. Paul River Crossing project. This is a project that will provide redundancy and some risk mitigation for the river crossing here just south of the downtown area. It serves the West Side Flats area. It goes through a local lift station. Then there's a riverside series of pipes that run under the river to get to the north side of the river here in St. Paul. So that's been added to the program. And then with that, I'll turn it over to Renee to review the plant projects.
Thank you, Kyle. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and
Good afternoon.
members of the Environment Committee. For the record, my name's Renee Heflin. I'm a manager of plant engineering. I'm here to cover the proposed changes included in our request for the 2025 capital program, specifically for the water resource recovery facilities. Adam Gordon, manager of Interceptor Engineering, will make a similar presentation for the Interceptor system. Our intent here is not to review all of the projects, current projects in the capital program, but rather to highlight the major changes we're requesting to the 2024 program to carry forward in 2025. There are 13 programs or collections of projects for the water resources recovery facilities. The two programs shown in red, items number 1 and 3, are near completion and will soon be closed. Program 8059, Metro Rehabilitation and Facilities Improvements, which began with a 2009 facility plan, will be closed in 2027 upon completion of the services building at the Metro. Program 8074, Empire Solids improvements, will be closed in 2026 upon completion of construction of Phase 2 improvements. That includes a combined heat and power generator and related improvements. For 2025, we will request to open 2 new programs shown in green. It's items 12 and 13. These programs, 8103 and 8104, initiate planning for future facility rehabilitation improvements, one at Metro and one at Empire. There are about 50 individual projects at the plants, and this presentation, just 2 more slides, I'm going to highlight 5 plant projects. We are requesting to add funding to 2 programs based on updated engineering cost information. We will request an additional $60 million for the Metro facility 4th incinerator project under program 8062, Metro Solids Improvements. We will also accelerate rehabilitation of the primary heat exchangers. Under program 8099, we are currently working on a facility plan for a new Crow River water resource recovery facility. We will request an additional $77 million for the new facility. Program 8078, Regional Plan Improvements, is a program that addresses more near-term needs of the regional facilities. There are 2 major changes being requested for this program. The first is the addition of $13 million for rehabilitation work at St. Croix Valley Water Resource Recovery Facility. This project started out as a $5 million bar screen replacement, and it has since grown, and we need to address additional rehabilitation needs. The second major change is the addition of $28 million for renewal work. Kyle mentioned both of these, I believe, at least for the existing Hastings. The second major change is the addition of $28 million for renewal work at the existing Hastings facility. This will allow us time to reevaluate the long-term service plan for the city of Hastings. And those are the highlights of the changes to the plant program. Next, I will turn it over to Adam Gordon for the interceptor system.
Thank you, Renee. Mr. Chair and committee members, my name's Adam Gordon. I'm the manager of the Interceptor Engineering Department. In 2024, this first map shows projects that are completing design or about to be advertised or are in construction. And the 24 projects cover the entire area, as you can see. And we're expecting a very full 2025 construction season. The projects, just to highlight 4 of them, on the very north end, we have a lift station electrical rehabilitation in Forest Lake and Hugo. We have lift station odor control improvements in Woodbury. We have force main replacement project that's ongoing right now in Spring Park and Mound. And we just initiated a siphon outlet structure replacement in Egan that handles all the flow from Burnsville and from Bloomington. So some large, important projects. I wanted to briefly go over how we prioritize projects. I think this relates a little bit back to Chair Lindstrom, your comments about how we identify things and how do we prioritize things going forward in the program. And I wanted to just cover quickly the process that we go through when we identify deficiencies and how do we identify them as new projects. And the prioritization is a risk-based assessment, which is a product of the consequence of failure ratings and a likelihood of failure rating. Our consequence of failure ratings or severity follow our organization's level of service that Kyle is covering in the slide 2. Examples of reducing spills, increasing safety, or reducing operational cost are some of those types of examples. And the range can really be thought of as, I like to think of it as being from manageable to unmanageable, for a scale 1 to 5, with major or severe having impacts to significant impacts to our environment, our residents, workers, or to even the council. The likelihood of failure is more of a determination that comes out of our condition assessments. So you hear Tim Woodine and Chris Remus will talk about, well, that pipe is poor condition, or that, you know, they use ratings, and we've been using those ratings of pipe conditions in our interceptor system for a couple decades now, following industry standards. Likely, which sort of corresponds with, you know, pipe assessment as a poor condition pipe. It has a predicted failure of within the 5 to 10 years. Whereas certain, which you've heard of condition 5 pipe, is a structurally failed pipe that may or may not have collapsed yet. It has severe defects and requires immediate action. Those problems assessed as having major to severe consequence, or a likelihood of likely to certain, which we have drawn the line at 16 or higher for a score, we recommend it to the capital program. So our program additions for 2025 that we're looking for adding projects are, I'm going to cover those by each of the families within the Interceptor program. In the Minneapolis program of family, we're proposing to add the rehabilitation of 1MN301, which is located in Minneapolis and consists of 1,400 feet of poor condition 22-inch clay pipe serving Minneapolis and Lauderdale. In St. Paul, the proposed projects are along, the first one is along MS 100. This is a significant, as you know, or one of the most significant interceptors in the system, bringing 2/3 of the flow to the Metropolitan wastewater, or Metropolitan Water Resource Reclamation Facility. We have 2 trunk sewers entering both the Trout Brook and the Beltline, and those sites need repair to maintain the integrity of the interceptor. So we're just initiating the planning on that now. We have Interceptor 1 SB216, which has 1,400 feet of poor condition 42-inch concrete pipe serving St. Paul's greater East Side neighborhood and Maplewood. And as Kyle mentioned earlier, we have the addition of the redundant siphon along 1 SB230, or better known as the Riverview siphon, to increase reliability of that system. In the west area, we have several capacity needs. We have both the Long Lake Interceptor 8352A, Victoria 7019-B, and Chanhassen 8253-328, which are showing, which recent modeling has shown that we were going to have capacity issues coming up on those. In addition, we have the need for extension of service and also capacity improvements for 8081 in Maple Plain. In the north area program, we have capacity improvement needs for 1 WO500, which is approximately 8,300 feet of interceptor pipe between the I-94, I-694 interchange and Battle Creek and Woodbury. We've identified poor condition structures along 1 MW410 in Battle Creek Regional Park. We have 500 feet of poor condition pipe in Coon Rapids along Interceptor SND35. And we need capacity relief for the Elm Creek Interceptor through a diversion to the New Crow River Water Resource Recovery Facility. And the initial funding requested is for planning, but we expect that system wouldn't be expected to be built until 2035. In the south area, we have upcoming work with MnDOT, needing to coordinate with MnDOT for some tunneling, or tunnel that's in the west side neighborhood, 1 SP230. We have interceptors 9701 and 9208 in Empire and Cottage Grove, which were originally constructed as buried structures because they were in farm fields. Unfortunately, this doesn't allow us to televise, but the nearby structures that we have been able to televise show that we have structural issues and poor conditions in the pipe. So we're going to raise all those structures and make sure that we have a good assessment of the pipe. And then we have the planning work to provide long-term service to Hastings. The west area, that's a boo-boo on this slide. We covered that in the previous slide. I got a little overzealous with the cut and paste. Sorry about that. In our lift station program, we're proposing to add the rehabilitation of L35 in Mounds View, L15 in Apple Valley, and L42 in Anoka. In addition, we have a lot of lift stations that are on old telephone lines for communication and data, two-wire phones which have been deregulated. So we're going to provide fiber optic connections for all those lift stations to not only reduce our costs with the utilities tremendously, but also to provide better data communications. And then we're adding odor control improvements at L41 in New Hope, L75 in Rosemont, and L79 in Eureka Township. For our meter station program, we're looking at acquiring meter M233 in Mounds View, which is a city-owned meter, but now can be regionalized because of the connected population. And we're looking at improving hydraulics and correcting structural issues at meter 106 in Columbia Heights, meter 641 in Rosemont, meter 644 in Apple Valley, and meter 448 in Chanhassen. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Kyle to talk about schedule.
To wrap up here, today you can see here on the schedule, September 10th is the informational meeting here we're presenting to you today. Then next month in October, there will be a presentation to the council that will reflect the unified capital program that includes all the division capital programs. And Matt Selmeyer, I believe, will be presenting that on behalf of the ES part of the unified program. And then typically at the last meeting of the year, the council will adopt all the final capital projects and levies for the council. And then with that, we can entertain any questions, Mr. Chair.
Any questions? Councilmember Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I still kind of shudder when I see how big the lines on the graph get for the capital program going forward. What's that going to do to rates?
Mr. Chair and Councilmember Wolf, that's a good question. At the end of the process of identifying projects and prioritizing them where they need to be within the time schedule, we do submit the cash flow to Matt's group in finance. We assume that 70% spend rate, and we do a rate analysis. So we take all of the assumptions with non-capital expenses, labor, chemicals, energy, and plug this into it. And this program right here falls right in line with what our expected rate increases were projected previously. So we're right in line pretty much in what the previous programs have been. I think we're still looking at about somewhere between a 4 and a 5.5% increase, which is kind of in line with what we've been historically. So it isn't driving any additional increases in rates necessary to cover it.
Thank you.
Good question, thank you. Other questions? Please.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Just really appreciate how much work goes into this, and I hope the public also appreciates that, you know, all the data that you have to keep track of and all the information and, you know, with maintenance and rehabilitation and, you know, so when you when people flush, you know, there's this whole system behind them and you. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that, because I know how much data there is, and you've got to be tracking it, and you have your systems to do it, but behind the data are the people looking at the data to pull this together. And so it's pretty awesome, really, you know, to build this kind of a system and to keep it running and maintaining and thinking of the future as well. So just think that you guys are doing a great job, and it's a pretty amazing system.
And sometimes when you pop the hood and you think it's going to be a simple solution, and then you're like, oh, all we need to do is fix the bar screen, and then you find out the HVAC is not so good. Like, pretty soon you got a whole new engine in your car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the 2050 plan out for public comment, there's some major changes in there to density and the long-term, what the MUSA line would be. I don't support those changes. I have a lot of concerns. But what impact would that have on our long-term planning if we did go to a minimum of 4 units per acre and not move the MUSA for the next 100 years?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Councilmember Wolf. Going from the current policy of the minimum of 3 units per acre to 4 units per acre, from the standpoint of service level needs consideration, we take a look at the forecasts. And so we plan for service levels based on the forecasts. Now, long-term, ultimately, that going from 3 to 4, I think it's a 30% increase if I did my math right, does result in an acceleration, if you will, in the long-term plan. Normally, we characterize long-term planning being 60 to 80 years out into the future. Going to a higher density just means that moves up the potential for some system capacity enhancements. On the other side, when we go through and look at long-term capacity needs, we're assuming flow generation rates that are probably close to the 4 units per acre, or a little bit more. So it doesn't really have an immediate impact in the short term, but long term, anytime you densify development, it's going to require additional service level needs, which is going to require some kind of future system capacity enhancement. So it will have an impact long term, but from a 20-year planning cycle that we go through, we just take a look at the projections and based our system capacity level needs based on those projections.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Very helpful. You got a lot of work to do.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that takes us to our general manager's report.
Keep it brief tonight to say that we survived the state fair in good style, and I saw a few faces at the open house. I hope everybody had a chance to get there and check it out. We have had a lot of positive feedback. Staff are still putting the data together, but we know we had over 60 staff work the fair, and feedback from them has been really positive, that they were really busy running around answering questions, and there's a little bingo game they play there that they have to get their cards stamped and different things. So it was a really good experience. I heard today that the fish survived the entire duration of the state fair, which were all good. That was a good thing. And somebody else mentioned, if you watch Minnesota Bound, the Ron Shera show, I can't remember which channel it's on, but they featured our eco exhibit in there, so check it out. Apparently it was pretty cool. A lot of people know now how big sewer pipes are and things of that sort, so that's my report for tonight.
Is that 300-pound poop emoji-like thing hanging in your office right now?
Oh, it's not. It would take up my whole table, I think.
Sure would.
I got my picture taken with it.
Did you really? Pictures come up yet again. That should make it into a future slideshow, I think.
Wow. Bill has-
All right, thanks, everybody. We are adjourned.